What up? It's your boy DJ Naeem. I want to give a huge shout out. Going out to my Jersey boys, breaking down these UFC cards, baby. Let's go.
Got a little mama and she chillin' by the poolside. Fashion over drip, body done with a hair tie. Ex keep calling to that boy, he need to sit back. You don't got a bag, you can never get your chick back. Broke boys, we don't like them. Bad, 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 yeah, we pipe them. And I need some big money with some hype fans. Said I need some big money with some hype fans. Broke boys, we don't like them. Bad, 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 yeah, we pipe them. And I need some big money with some hype fans. Said I need some big money with some hype fans.
Check it. When I'm in Vegas, bring the drops out. Yeah. When I'm in Miami, bring the yachts out. Water, water.
Good evening, Andrew Valencia. How are you tonight?
What's up, pal? How you doing, Steven? How you doing?
Bro, I'm doing great. We're here for a big pay-per-view event after a 2 weeks off, 2 week hiatus, basically. Right? You were away on vacation. Florida was nice to you. Good to the family.
Yeah, actually, it was great. We had a little, family outing, family get together. The baby hadn't seen the grandparents in a while, so it was a good time. Time needed.
Yeah,
sure.
and then last week we had it planned to do this, and my computer was not cooperating. So I'm getting my computer reimaged. I'm actually on my cell phone with the video. I'm on a loaner computer for the show. So hopefully that this works out. We can get you guys some good picks because, as I said to Drew before, I have way more money on this card than I think I've ever had on the card. and a lot of that money is on one fight, brother. It's on one fight. So whatever, man. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. So where are we gonna start? Let's start with quick picks. So for anybody who's new to the show, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do quick picks, rather quick. All right, I'll try to remind Drew. Let's keep the quick picks to a minimum. So that's number one. Then we're gonna go into talking about the 5 cards on the main card. Tomorrow morning, I will put timestamps. So anybody who watches this after, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe, check the timestamp. So if you only want to hear about the main card fights, that's fine. Just skip right to those fights. We'll put our picks. We'll put the odds in there. This is not really a DraftKings show. Maybe we will reference DraftKings a little bit, but this is about betting. We like to bet. We like to bet on fights, and that's what we're looking to do. All right, Drew, was that a good intro? We gave everybody the information they need?
Yeah, and also, you see that right above us? Bet MGM. Yep, we're affiliates.
Oh, yeah. No, we're an affiliate. It's official. So, Bet MGM, approved affiliate. In the show notes, you'll actually see the information, as Drew just mentioned, to sign up using our link. So if you're in Jersey, definitely sign up for Bet MGM. So, Drew, why don't we get right into this first fight? I'll give you the fight, and then you can do your quick pick. I'll give my quick pick. So we have Sean Soriano coming in on short notice against Christos Giagos. Who you got here?
Sean Soriano.
Okay, so I'm going. We're heads up in this first fight because I'm going Giagos, but I'm gonna keep note of this later. Kevin Aguilar and Tucker Lutz.
Kevin Aguilar.
Aguilar last. So I'm on Aguilar also. Gina Mazzani and Priscilla Cachoeira.
Cachoeira.
You see, I didn't think you were going to be on Cachoeira, but I'm on Cachoeira too, bro. I feel like if you go back to any fight, right? Like any fighter is never as good as their best time out. And Gina Mazzani, it was definitely her best fight last time. And I believe she's the widest line on this card, right? Minus 200?
Let me look at it. Yeah, she's minus 200 to plus 160.
Yeah, I think that's the widest line on the card. So this is a pretty good betting card if you have some leans here. So let's go to this next one. Jamie Pickett and Jordan Wright.
Jamie Pickett.
Damn, I went back and forth with this. I think I'm going to go Jordan Wright, bro. Yeah, I'm going to go Jordan. Hey, listen, Jamie Pickett, really, he should be a model. Listen,
vaya con Dios. That's all I got to say to you, man. Jamie Pickett. That's my pick.
I don't even know what you just said, but Andrea Lee and Antonia Shevchenko.
Ah, God. It's almost like you don't want to go against the last name, right? Shevchenko. But
I'll be honest with you, bro. The next 2 fights, remember I sent you my picks earlier in the week?
Mm-hmm.
I changed this pick. I changed this pick and I changed the next pick. Those are the two picks that I changed on the card. So my
Yeah.
official leans after doing tape study, I changed two of my picks. But go ahead,
Yeah,
give me your pick, bro.
Well, my official pick earlier in the week, if you remember the little text that I sent you, it's Shevchenko, and I'm still gonna go Shevchenko. So
Yeah, I earlier in the week I said Andrea Lee, but I'm gonna go Shevchenko too. So we'll go Drew Steve for that one. And these picks will all be in the show notes, so you can see our picks.
yeah, I
for this
just
card.
couldn't. I honestly, with that pick in particular, I couldn't see not what you could see, I guess, for Andrew's path for her to win, but I just couldn't see it against Shevchenko, especially when you train with the champ every single day of your life. I just can't see you not getting better and not being a top contender at some point in your career. And I feel like this is just the perfect matchup for her to just keep that Shevchenko name alive and more relevant now that if she comes up and starts being a badass, forget about it.
So again, quick picks, but I think that we could talk about this fight, and I think we need to talk about Cachoeira and Muniz just a little bit. I know they're quick picks. We got to talk about that a little. I need your breakdown on that. So this was my initially. I thought Andrea Lee was going to be able to get her down. After watching the tape, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Shevchenko is going to be able to beat her on the feet, use that tie clinch, the way that she does. As long as she's not put on her back, I think she's going to be fine here. So that's why I switched to Shevchenko. Now, I also switched to Mike Grundy. So my pick, I'm giving it away right now, is Mike Grundy. And I think it's because he's going to have success wrestling after I watched the video. So I was early in the week, I was on Venata. I really like Venata. But Venata finds a way to lose fights. And I think Mike Grundy is going to give him that path to losing this fight by stealing rounds. What do you think,
with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that one, man. I'm with Mike Grundy. I've been on Mike Grundy. If you see the text I sent you, actually, I'll post exactly what I sent you earlier in the week. If you guys follow me on Book It, on the app or on Twitter, you can see my tag right there. So pretty much, I'll have all my picks out. Steve will have all his picks out. You can follow us there. We have a Discord. You can hit the link.
Definitely get on that Discord.
We tweet it out all the time. But like I said, back to this fight. I was on Mike Grundy. I'm huge on Mike Grundy. He's had a little rocky. He's a winner, no doubt. But Mike Grundy, I guess you could say, out of Liverpool, his last fight, he beat, who was it, Narimani with punches in round two. And like you said, the biggest thing and the biggest factor, I guess, in this fight, and the reason why I like him the most is the wrestling. Because he is going to dominate on the ground. He's just going to get Leo down. I mean, although he can strike Mike Grundy, I don't think he'd outstrike Lando, right? So why do it there? So I feel like Mike Grundy just gets it done.
Yo, all Thomas does is stay cursing on the podcast. Yo, T Hops, thanks for watching this, brother.
Yo, T Hops, I love you, bro. Go light.
And again, I got let me pick one of Leslie Jenkinson, one of our biggest supporters. Definitely shout out Leslie. Follow her on Instagram. Follow her on Twitter. I shouldn't say Instagram. Follow her on Twitter. Leslie, if you have an Instagram, let me know what it is. I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. But follow her on Twitter, and she big supporter of the show. So I appreciate it, Leslie. And she likes a lot of our picks too. All of a sudden I saw that there were 7 comments and 6 of them were from Leslie. So definitely following the show tonight. All right, Drew, where are we at now, man? We this is what I wanted to talk to you about, I think.
Yep, Ronaldo.
We have Cachoeira and Andre Muniz. Let's just talk about it a little bit, okay? I personally thought this was going to be on the main card, so I did a little bit of more tape study than I usually do. My original lean was on Muniz, and right now I'm still on Muniz, but I don't know if I should be. I just feel like he really pursues the ground game. I think this is going to be a ground matchup. I don't think he's going to stay much on the feet. I just remembering that my initial reaction was that he's a better striker than Cachoeira. But then when I watched tape, I'm like, what was I even thinking? Like, he's not much of a striker, although he doesn't even look to strike really. His physique, I think, is a little misleading. You kind of feel like he can really strike. And then he just doesn't. He doesn't seem to hurt anybody on the feet. I don't think he's gonna hurt Cachoeira on the feet here. But getting people to the ground and then working that ground game, I think, is where he excels. And I tell you what, man, if you want to sprinkle, I'm not betting this fight, although I may do a little Degen parlay here. Andre Muniz by sub is plus 1,200. I don't expect it to happen, but I expect a lot of this fight to be on the ground. So if he catches him, plus 1,200. I mean, I'll give you my two Degen parlays. It's Andre Muniz sub with Chandler knockout first round. That $20 bet will pay you over $1,000.
Hold on, let me go to the book right now and try to see. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I priced it out before. I priced it out before on one of the books. So Andre Muniz sub is plus 1,200, and I believe it was Chandler first round knockout was plus 500.
Well, Mike Chandler just to win by knockout is plus 460, but in the first round, KO.
Oh, is it just? I must have different lines than you, bro.
No. But that's just for him to win in KO. But for him to win by KO and first round, it's 500. So if you take those two, that's plus 7,700, and you put a modest 25 on it, you bring back 1,925.
I mean, I think is that a Degen parlay? I mean, I think it is. I think that's the definition of a Degen parlay.
That's absolutely the most Degen parlay. I mean, we've hit Degen parlays in the past, but
we have hit them. I mean, I'm just telling you, I placed the bet. So Drew, I mean, let me know. What are you thinking here, bro?
Well, so exactly what you said about Andre Muniz. I mean, if you look at his record, he does have a knockout win on his record. It wasn't in the UFC, but he does have a knockout win. So he does have some type of power in his hand. But again, if you look at his striking, a lot of his striking, it seems to be a lot of setups just to get to the ground, just to get his opponents to the ground so he can get to the ground, ground and pound, and then look for a sub. I mean, a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys, I mean, he has 13 wins by sub. That says a lot. He has 4 by KO. So if you think about the KO TKO aspect, right? Was it really a standing KO TKO? No. Most of the time, I'm probably assuming it'd be him just ground and pounding people out and just being in better position than guys. Because remember, if you're not subbing somebody and you're just making their life miserable, at some point you could just pound them out and the fight's over, right? If you look at his last fight, he won by armbar in round 1, right? So, and it was against Fabinski. Fabinski is not Cachoeira. I'm just going to say that. And there's a reason why that sub prop is at plus 1,200, because if you can't do damage to Cachoeira, then you're not going to sub him. It's just that simple. And the only way that I feel like Cachoeira, if this is really going to be a fight on the ground, like for me, I feel like it's going to be one of those fights where, when you have two submission specialists and they kind of cancel each other out and they try to fight on the feet, that might happen here. You know what I'm saying? So don't be surprised if you see that, at least for a little bit in round 1, where they're kind of feeling each other out and trying to look like strikers. And it's weird because in this matchup, the person who's actually, in my opinion, the better striker is Cachoeira. Why?
Yeah,
only because,
I agree.
Why? Because he's been in the UFC longer. And not only has he been in the UFC longer, when you transition from jiu-jitsu into the UFC, or rather MMA for that point, it takes a little while for you to actually look natural striking. And he's in an aspect now, even though he's a little bit aged, he's in an aspect now where, and Leslie, yes, I agree, it's definitely going to the ground. He's in an aspect now in his career where his striking is pretty much starting to come together. So if he comes together now for this fight, maybe he dings Andre Muniz a little bit. And if it does get to the ground, I honestly don't see Andre Muniz beating a multiple world time champion, a freaking legend, a living legend, literally in jiu-jitsu. I don't see him being better than him on the ground. So if anything, this is a fight for Cachoeira to come back and just get back on a winning track and keep it moving.
All right, Drew, I think it's time to zoom in a little bit and let's get started on this main card. Again, I'm assuming that this is the bout order. For the main card, we did have a fight drop out, but I think they reshuffled everything, and this is where we're at. So I'll introduce this first fight for you, and then you can take it from there. I do have a bet that I like on this. So it's Matt Schnell, who's 5'8", 70-inch reach, and then we have Rogerio Bontorin, who is 5'5", 67-inch reach. So again, with those numbers, Schnell owns a 3-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach advantage. He also owns the output advantage. And in this fight, if it stays on the feet, I think Schnell is in a good spot. To be honest, I think that Bontorin is game here, but I think if Schnell's able to keep it on the feet, he was able to outpoint his last opponent, Tyson Nam. You know, he's good. He's a good fighter. I think the under is the way to play this. I think under 2.5 rounds is the play here for me, Drew. So I'll let you give your breakdown, and then I'll throw up the odds here. What do you think, brother?
All right. So here, personally, it's funny, right? Because when I was watching tape, you automatically look at Rodrigo Bontorin and you think of the Cachoeira France fight, where he pretty much had France in a world of trouble. He pretty much put him in 3 rear naked chokes, couldn't finish any one of them. And I think he even got underneath the neck one time, under the chin one time. So I know for a fact right now he's hurting because it's something that he had the dub pretty much in his bag. He was already winning. He was beating Cachoeira France, and then he stood up and got caught. You know, all in the crossfire with Cachoeira France, which pretty much Cachoeira France, that's where he lives. Like every single fight of that guy is straight fireworks, and you're always going to see a crazy scramble or a crazy exchange. And that time Cachoeira France came out of the exchange, you know, the victor. And I feel like Rogerio is the better person on the ground if it gets to the ground. But in the same respect, Matt Schnell, like when I looked at the line just now before the show, I saw that it was at -165 for him, you know, right now as the favorite. And that kind of surprised me because I thought the line was going to be a little bit closer, considering that both these guys, you know, Matt Schnell is the better striker out of the two. He is, you know, more technical. He definitely has more output because that's the thing about him. He, no matter what he's doing, he's always moving. He's always, you know, throwing a little jab, throwing a couple feints, and just his openings, you really don't know when they're going to come, his shots, because that's the thing. You can think of him as a striker because of his output, but he has really, really good jiu-jitsu, and he's really, really sharp on the ground. Like, he's no slouch. So even Rogerio trying to get him down to the ground, it might work, but it's not going to be the same like when it was against Cachoeira France, where he pretty much had his way with Cachoeira France. He pretty much threw him up, dropped him on the ground, and took his back immediately. I don't think it's going to be the same with Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell has a good background in wrestling. He was on The Ultimate Fighter with Henry Cejudo, if that says anything about, you know, the type of coach that he was under, and the coaching that he has received. He's out of American Top Team. You know those guys, how they are and how they train. So this fight, I mean, Matt Schnell is the favorite. I usually like to lean with the grappler in this one, but what just tips, you know, the needle a little bit in the way for Matt Schnell to me is just that he's just that much better of a striker than Rogerio, and that's going to make the difference. Now, where I don't agree with you is I feel like this fight may actually go the distance, you know, because I don't feel like Rogerio is going to make the same mistake and get caught. I feel like he might try to take it to the ground, you know, do the same things, try to stall, ground and pound, and try to make his life miserable for Matt Schnell. If Matt Schnell can keep it on the feet, maybe he catches Rogerio, but I don't see it happening that way. I feel like it's going to be a very exciting fight, and it just goes to the judges. Which, if you've been watching other, you know, any event, whether it's PFL or whatever it is, judging has been very, very weird. So I know these fighters are going to look for the finish, but I don't think this one gets finished by either one of them, and it goes to the cards. So if anything, I'll look for the line for it to go to the decision, or
I'll bring it up here. Let me bring it up here for you, Joe.
What was it right
so
there?
You got
fight goes to decision at -110, and then if anything, I'd go Matt Schnell by decision.
Let's bring it down there. Schnell wins by subs. Schnell wins by decision plus 380. It's a nice line.
Yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm leaning a little bit, just because I don't think Rogerio wants to get caught twice, especially when you're that far ahead. It's like literally being like half a mile away from the race, like one step away from crossing that finish line, somebody just comes by and just blows by you. Like it sucks. So I don't think he comes out and gets caught again. So
So here's my reasoning for the under 2.5. I think, it is a somewhat close fight, right? I think if Bontorin wins the fight, I think he wins by sub. I think Schnell has an opportunity to win by sub if they do go to the ground. But I think if it stays on the feet, I think he'll be able to knock him out. So that's, there's the opportunity to knock him out. I think there's better than a 50-50 chance that I think the odds are in the favor of there being a finish. That's, we could disagree on that, but I do also like Schnell here. So we're gonna go, and again, I'll put those quick picks in the notes, and then I'll put the odds with the options that we like. So I like under 2.5 rounds. Drew likes decision, and then he likes Schnell by decision. So I'll put all three of those. Okay. So the next one is Shane Burgos and Edson Barboza. Last night I watched the Shane Burgos Josh Emmett fight again. And then I also watched Edson Barboza and watched a few fights. I mean, we were cage side, right, for the Kevin Lee fight in Atlantic City. So that was a good fight. And Kevin Lee really pressured Barboza, but then that pressure was very effective because of the takedown. Shane Burgos isn't the kind of guy that's really going to take you down. He's going to pressure you in a different way. He's going to pressure you, get in your face, take all your space, and force you to throw, and then obviously throw in bunches. The thing with Burgos that just drives me absolutely nuts is his hands are always so low. I mean, he's quick, right? He gets his hands up there, but he ain't that quick. I mean, Josh Emmett caught him a few times there, right? Knocked it down, I believe it was twice in that third round. I mean, that was a hell of a fight. So go watch Shane Burgos and Josh Emmett. Somebody posted on Twitter, I forget who it was. I wish I could give you credit, but I forget who it was. But Josh Emmett basically has a knockdown in just about every one of his fights. It's ridiculous, the string of people that he's knocked down. Even from like the Jeremy Stevens fight that he got really, really injured. He knocked Jeremy Stevens down before Stevens put him out. I was cage side in Philadelphia when Josh Emmett knocked out Michael Johnson, right? So he knocked out Michael Johnson in round 3. But this isn't really about Josh Emmett. I'm just saying how good of a fight that was with Shane Burgos. But the point is, Josh Emmett is usually in a very close striking affair with you. And I feel like he kind of had his way with Shane Burgos. He had maybe, and again, if you go back to that fight, Josh Emmett was hurt in the first round. Remember, he kind of hyperextended his knee.
He tore everything in his knee. He tore everything in his knee, dude. Everything in his knee was gone.
Still beat Burgos. And again, what is a healthy Edson Barboza going to do? Personally, I thought Edson Barboza beat Dan Ige. I thought he won that fight. Had a good showing last time out against Makwan Americani. I'm going to go with Barboza here. I don't know if I'm going to bet this. I don't think the line is wide enough for me to bet it. But I do like the counter striking of Barboza. I do like the leg kicks. I think that he can really pepper Burgos' legs. I just wish that Burgos had his hands up, because I feel like Barbosa's going to hit him with a kick that he's not going to see. And it could put his lights out. That's kind of what I feel like is going to happen in this fight. Drew, what do you think, bro?
Honestly, I feel the same way. I honestly feel like this is going to be a great fight for Edson Barboza. Only because Shane Burgos, I mean, this is going to be his first fight against, I guess you could say, a well-known name, in Edson Barboza. Because Shane Burgos is no slouch, don't get me wrong. He's 13-2. He's always out there to excite. He's always fighting, exciting. All his fights are good. He's always bringing it, coming forward. But again, you said it yourself. He lost to Josh Emmett, who literally destroyed his knee in the first round of their fight and still was able to outstrike him and just outclass him on the feet. So, I mean, that says a lot. And you're right. Shane Burgos has the habit of dropping his hands pretty much throughout his exchanges. And that's not going to be a good thing against a guy who, in the middle of an exchange, can throw a heel hook that can put you in another dimension. So, if anything, the line is a little bit wide. Edson Barboza, I'm not saying he can't get put out. I'm not saying he can't get caught. I mean, we've seen Edson, and in the same respect, maybe now he's got a little bit of new life, considering that he just signed a new contract with the UFC. They met his number. Pretty much, I think he tweeted it out or put it on Instagram. They had met his number. So, he's excited. Hey, what's up, Insight? He's excited, and he's fighting out of American Top Team. Bunch of killers in there. They're always hungry. They're always training. And again, he's in a new division, so everything's different for Edson here. This is like a brand new, pretty much life for Edson. And here against Dan Ige, I feel like he won that fight as well. But here against Shane Burgos, this is like something that can just keep the momentum going for Edson and put him in a better spot in the division in the 145 division. Shane Burgos, I mean, I hope he puts out a good outing. It could be an exciting fight, but if he drops his hands, he could probably get blasted in round 2. That's honestly one of my Degen plays that I feel like you can probably hit. It's Edson Barboza KO in round 2. Or otherwise, I'd probably just go with the pick I was probably going to go with, which is Edson Barboza by KO, TKO, pretty much. Because I don't see this fight going to the judges, not this one.
Well, again, if we're going to try to put together some Degen parlays on air right now, I'm just going to mention 2 things to you. Calvin Kattar put Burgos out in round 3.
Oh, I know.
And then Josh Emmett also knocked him down twice in round 3. So you're calling round 2. I'm just saying in round 3, the accumulation of shots that Burgos is, eventually going to get hit with because he keeps his hands so low. Round 3 seems to be the round that, it kind of gets the best of him. It gets knocked down.
The difference is that those guys who you mentioned don't kick like Edson, and it only takes.
No, you're right. You're right. They also don't knee like Edson. Ask Benny about that one. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yo, Benny, again, if you want to watch a very good first round, what Benny did to Edson Barboza, very, very good striking first round. Even the beginning of the second round. And I believe it was the second round when Edson caught him with that knee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it is what it is. We're definitely Degens. When we can just bring this, when you can recall fights that I didn't really intend on talking about on air, in the middle, you said something and I just brought something up.
Pain. It brought up pain.
That's Degen.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it brought up. So let me bring this up because this is really what we're looking at here. Let's look at some odds. So we're looking at Barboza. Do you like Barboza plus 115?
Barboza, yeah, plus 115. I mean, Shane Burgos getting the nod at minus 135 is kind of weird, and I feel like the only reason he gets it, in my honest assessment, is because of the time spent. I mean, Edson Barboza in fight years is old as heck. He's 21-9. But in this division, I feel like he's gotten new life now with a new contract again. That's all as a fighter coming into a fight, feeling that good, feeling almost on top of the world, like everything's secure and safe for his family, for everything. Dude, I feel like this is like the perfect headspace for Edson. He's 35 years old. Let's not forget that, which is why I feel like that's reason he's minus 135. But he's not a major favorite either, because people know Shane Burgos could get blasted at any moment, especially when you're fighting Edson Barboza, dude. I mean, out of all of the, pretty much legends still fighting right now at 35 plus year range, Edson is the one that's not on his way out. Like we have a fighter that we're going to talk about soon who I feel like is one of those guys who's on his way out, but Edson isn't one of them.
He may already be out.
Yeah.
So Drew, let's just again Degen parlay. Burgos wins by KO. No, I'm sorry. Barboza wins by KO TKO in round 2 plus 1,200.
Yes.
Or my call, which I may even put in with like a Muniz Sub plus 1,200. Barboza wins by KO TKO in round 3 plus 2,500, bro.
Bro, it's never gonna get there because Barboza is gonna get the job done either in 1 or 2. I mean, I'm even shaky going in 2, but honestly, Barboza.
I'm gonna show you. Let me bring it back here so you can see. Just sprinkle. Take a little bit of salt and sprinkle it on each one. You know what I'm saying? $10 here, $10 there. Pick 2. Let's try to hit something big, kid.
Hey, I mean, I did it last week with Canelo, so it could work here.
When you sprinkle. All right? That's what we're looking for, kid.
Boy.
All the money. I got other hand gestures, too, if we need them later. All right, let's get to this next fight. We have Katlyn Chookagian and Viviane Araujo. I'm going to tell you what should happen. Katlyn should win this fight. I I just think that I don't know what she's really looking to do in this fight, and that's what concerns me. Is she using this as like a springboard fight? I don't think so, right? So this is almost like a gatekeeper fight for her. She is she going back up to try to get another title shot? Because I think she's moving in the wrong direction, right? She already has her two losses, to the top of the division, and you see how that kind of played out. You know what I mean? So where is she going now? Is she trying to get back up? If she's trying to get back up, I don't know if she takes this fight. So I think she's kind of caught in Never Never Land here with being the gatekeeper, and she's going in the wrong direction. Now, does that mean that she's going to lose this fight? No, I think she can very well win this fight against Araujo. I think there's a few things with Araujo that I like. I do like her ability to crowd you, get inside, and get in your face, put that jab in your face. The issue that I have with her is it just seems like her head is on that center line, and she gets hit a lot. Like she's the one that she goes into every fight, and you think she has more power, and then all of a sudden, her opponent is hitting her harder than she's hitting them. And for Katlyn, I mean, she's very well coached, right? She trains with Mark Henry in Jersey. She's part of the Jersey crew, so she's a local. I think she's from New York, but trains in Jersey, and she does very well with their signals. They have a whole like terminology where, depending on what Mark Henry is calling for during the fight, everything has a code, everything has a name, and she just really fights well with that style. And I think that she's going to be able to put the jab in Araujo's face. Anyone who hasn't watched Katlyn before, she's going to grunt and moan and everything else with every punch that she throws. You're going to hear her on the telecast the entire time. And again, Drew, it goes back to something that you said before, and that's why I'm going to stay away from this fight as a betting fight. We have Texas judges. The judging has been terrible. Texas is notorious for having poor judges. So what are we really going to get here in this fight? I really just don't know. And because of that, because of me just not knowing and not being sure, I'm staying out of this. But again, some numbers real quick. Katlyn's going to have a 5-inch height advantage, but their reach is the same. In terms of strikes landed, Araujo usually lands more strikes by the numbers, which may serve her well here. But I think it really comes down to who does more damage. Could it go to the ground? Yeah, it could. Katlyn's had some success, right? She beat Antonina like that, kind of out of the blue. We didn't expect her. She never takes anything to the ground. I think Araujo could have some success if she wants to get some takedowns. But I think this is a very close fight, and I think it's going to come down to, styles make fights and game plans. And I think in this fight, it's going to come down to the game plan. What did you see on tape that you think that you can exploit and impose your will on your opponent? And I think that's what this fight comes down to. So I can't wait to watch it just to see if the game plan comes together. So Drew, what do you think here, bro? Ready to stop and shit?
No, absolutely not. Because piggyback off what you just said with the game plan, what's going to make the difference in this fight? It's not going to be the groundwork. It's not going to be the takedowns. It's going to be, a takedown here or there maybe, but it's going to be the striking. And the striking difference, I feel like you can give the nod to Katlyn Chookagian. Viviane Araujo, just like you said, you have seen her hit people with power. I mean, and I forget the fight. I was just watching the video. I think it was Montana De La Rosa. No, she won by it was an overhand right. There you go. To Talita Bernardo. I was watching that tape just I think earlier today. And in that fight, if you watch that fight, you would think she's going to come out here and blast every single person she hits with that overhand right, because it put her to sleep. It just collapsed the girl. Hope she's okay. But anyway, Viviane Araujo in this fight, she's not going to do that to Katlyn, because just like you said, she doesn't really get her head out of the way fast enough to get out of the way of Katlyn's jab, get out of the way of Katlyn's just movement. Katlyn, when she fights, in my opinion, that's what she has to do in this fight. Just point fight. Get in, get out. Get in, get out. Maybe fake a takedown. Get a takedown here, there, up against the fence, because Viviane will probably try to take it up against the fence to get her to the ground, because Viviane is no slouch on the ground. She can do jiu-jitsu. But when you have two good jiu-jitsu specialists, they're just going to cancel each other out. And that's what I feel like in this fight, the difference will be the striking. Output wise, Viviane might be the slight, leader in that category. But in the same breath, I feel like the reason she could be the leader in that category is because a lot of her fights, and with the opponents that she's had, they're opponents that they're very calculated, or they're specializing in one other thing. Like, for instance, Roxanne Modafferi, she just had her way with her. I mean, and on top of that, Roxanne isn't somebody who has major output to begin with. Same thing with Montana De La Rosa, So in this fight, if anything, I feel like the person who's going to have the more output, if there was a bet on it, I'd probably bet that is going to be Katlyn, because Katlyn is going to be very, very busy just trying to keep Viviane busy and trying to stay, honestly, away from the ground. Because one thing that Katlyn can do, now if there is a con anywhere, is that Katlyn sometimes when she gets taken down, she'll put you in a guard and just stay there. Doesn't even look to get up. Yeah, she'll work an attempt at a sub here and there, but sometimes she'll just put you in a guard and just stay there and let you get, whatever you want, essentially. So that kind of scares me a little bit here, but I don't see it happening. And to answer your question about what Katlyn's doing now, if she's making another run, if you look at her last fight against Carvalho, she looked amazing. And I think in the interview, she said it again, that she's pretty much going to make a run again, because I feel like when you have a fighter like her who's made it to the pinnacle, and both times that you fought top names, it really didn't even look like you belong there. I think you want to go back and make a point that, you actually belong in that spotlight, and it wasn't just a fluke. Thank God for her. She did make it there twice. And I think for this camp, she's been working a lot with the Serra guys, with Matt Serra, and those guys in Long Island. So that could be a different thing for her, because she's going to spend more time at home, closer to home. And it's a good gym over there, because she was training at Henzo's for a while, but now that Henzo team is out in Puerto Rico, and she pretty much has like the main core or some of the guys who was at the Henzo gym now in Long Island. So, and she also said, I think in an interview, that she's getting more one-on-one training, which I'm sure is benefiting her more with her striking, specifically. So that's going to be the edge. I hope Katlyn doesn't get taken down and just put somebody in a guard. And if she does, I hope she gets a sub. But yeah, I'm riding with Katlyn here, probably by decision, because I don't see this fight being a stop. So yeah, hopefully Texas doesn't fuck it up.
Well, I can't guarantee that, but let me throw these odds up here. You like fight goes to decision is -380. I mean, I'll put it in there for the show notes. Maybe.
No. I want Katlyn to win by decision, not fight goes to decision. Yeah. Katlyn to win by decision.
I'm sorry, Katlyn decision. See, I think decision. I think just a decision in this fight is a parlay piece. There aren't many parlay pieces here, Drew.
No,
I mean, in terms
not,
of these fights, because I don't know if I'm putting anything on Gino Mazzani. Katlyn wins. Did you see it? -105.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, and then decision, that was -380.
Yeah,
so
-380.
Yeah, that's a parlay piece for anyone who's a Degen and likes to do things like that, which is more or less what we do. All right, so Drew, I will give you the main event, because to me this is my fight, as I told you. You tell me where you want me to start. You want me to start with Benny, or you want me to start with Tony? Your choice, brother.
Just so you guys know, he is nervous about this fight. Okay.
I'm actually not. That's the funny thing. I'm not at all.
No. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. You're excited, but I know a buddy of mine who's very, very nervous, and I wish he was watching this cast. But Wally, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna win. Steve, start with Benny.
Start with Benny. So did Wally already put down a bet on this, or he just doesn't trust us?
You know how he is.
Yeah, I do. I do know how he is. All right, so this is what I'm going to start with Benny. I'm going to go through some of his fights, okay? I think Benny had his rough patch about 2.5 years ago. It started with Edson Barboza. That's where things started to go, I don't want to say downhill, but that's where he got that negative feel. He had, and I mentioned that earlier in the podcast, he had such a good first round versus Edson Barboza, if you go back to that fight. He was doing fine in the second round as the second round started. and then the flying knee that perfectly timed by Edson, but it was almost out of desperation. Like I don't know why Benny was trying to come in for that takedown, and he got caught. Okay, that led to the fight with Evan Dunham that turns into a draw, and then that turns into the late notice Alexander Hernandez coming in and finishing him in the first round, early in the first round. That was his bad stretch. After that, he had to regroup, and he did. So if you go back and you look at Benny since then, Thiago Moises, who actually just went out and outstruck Alexander Hernandez, right, recently, bad. Benny, beat him. Drew Dober. Drew Dober's a stud, guys. Drew Dober is a stud, okay? Beats him. Frank Camacho, I know you did an interview with Frank, but Frank's a punching bag, right? He gets hit way too much. He's got to hit you.
Come on, bro.
I mean, we love Frank, but Frank the Tank, but
come on, bro.
But Frank gets hit too much in the face, a la Tony Ferguson. Okay, Jakar Close. I mean, he looked great. Scott Holtzman, he looked great. Diego Ferreira. Now, Diego Ferreira had a very difficult fight this past weekend. Anybody that wants to hear about that, Anakin Florian podcast. Again, it's the one show I listen to religiously every single week. Coach Saif Sayud was on Anakin Florian, talked about Diego Ferreira's weight cut. If you remember, this past weekend, I actually pulled my bet back. Remember that on Gregor? You told me I was nuts. And again, if I would have known this, I wouldn't have pulled the bet back. But basically, Saif Sayud talked about Diego Ferreira. He just couldn't sweat anymore. So he was about, I think he weighed in at 161 or something like that. He just couldn't sweat anymore. So again, I highly recommend. Saif Sayud is one of the best coaches and a great guy. He comes across even better after listening to the Anakin Florian podcast. So again, shout out to Saif Sayud. I have a little story with him about Cowboy, and it's funny because he told the story about Cowboy on the Anakin Florian podcast that was pretty interesting. He really respects the dude. So when that's a great win. Diego didn't have any issues against Benny. That was a great win, and he was able to really take advantage of the ground game in that, and also on the feet. So that's Benny. Like Benny is 32 years old at this point. I think he's in his prime. He's overcome the dark point of his career, and he's ready to make a run. And he's done that all really in the UFC in the last 5-6 years. I love Benny here. Love his game. Now, Tony Ferguson. Drew, do you remember the first UFC event I was supposed to cover was supposed to be Khabib, Tony Ferguson over in Brooklyn. The week of the fight, the week of the fight, they're doing all their media stuff, and he has the knee injury. So again, what winds up happening with that knee injury? He tore it up, ACL, MCL. Didn't he tear just about everything?
He tripped on a production wire, like something that was like on set or whatever it was, and tore, and think pretty much his ACL, MCL, and LCL. So yeah, pretty much everything in his knee just destroyed.
Destroyed.
Yeah. I think you were making fun of it because that was the card that he was kicking the lead pipe for. That he was training and doing all that crazy training. So now let's go through the narrative. Let's go through the history. I don't think Tony Ferguson has ever been the same since that injury. So he comes back and he fights Anthony Pettis. Okay, I was at the fight. That was Khabib and McGregor out in Vegas. I went to the fight. I covered it for MMA India. Pettis knocked him down in the first round, hit him with everything. The only reason, in my opinion, that Tony Ferguson won that fight is because Anthony Pettis broke his hand and could stop throwing punches in round 2, where Tony Ferguson recovered and just threw punches until Pettis, he demolished Pettis in round 2. But round 1 was a 10-8 round. Anthony Pettis almost finished the fight. Right? If it wasn't for Tony doing all his somersaults and everything while he was hurt, that fight is over. So most guys are probably out with the punishment he took in round 1. Go back to the Cowboy fight, right? Cowboy hasn't beaten anyone really. And how many fights in a row has he lost, right? Losing to guys that we all kind of think, he was a -200 favorite this week.
So, all right, that's the fight that Tony wins. So he beat Pettis with a broken hand. He beats Cowboy, who, I mean, I think most people would probably say it was 1-1 at the end of round 2 when it was stopped with the eye injury. You know what I mean? So now go to the two most recent fights, and you have Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. Tony has now lost 8 rounds in a row. 8 rounds in a row. 5 to Gaethje, 3 to Oliveira. And I know the Gaethje round 5 was stopped, but the beating that he took in that fight, I mean, some people will never be the same after a beating like that. So you got a guy who's coming back from the knee injury, from the biggest fight of his life, the letdown against Khabib, where Khabib has been quoted now as basically saying, like, it's not even worth fighting this guy. Like, this guy isn't on my level at this point. Right? He's fallen off so much. And I think Khabib is right. I think he's fallen off so much at this point. And on top of it, he's had those mental issues, where I don't even know the whole story. The story is crazy, where like he didn't he have like his daughter and had an issue with his wife at home, and I don't know all the details of it. But he's an odd guy. I get that, but I just think he's got to have some damage to his brain. The beating that Justin Gaethje put on him for 5 rounds. I mean, if you saw Tony Ferguson, the way he was flopping around in round 5, just trying to stay on his feet, like the worst thing that he does is he's so tough because that causes him to take more damage. Charles Oliveira, if you watch round 1, I don't know how he fought the next 2 rounds with what Charles Oliveira did to his arm in round 1. I mean, that armbar was in so deep, Drew. How does he fight for 2 more rounds, right? Like, so he fights 2 more rounds and takes all that damage with like, a broken wing. Mm-hmm. So you're talking about a guy who's taken a ton of damage. And again, I just said it about Katlyn. I mean, Tony Ferguson, we all love him. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying what I'm saying because it's just what I see. But Tony Ferguson is a gatekeeper that's moving in the wrong direction. I hate to say it this way, but he's basic. I think over the next few fights, if he keeps fighting, he's going to have a similar trajectory to what we just saw out of Donald Cerrone. Like, we all love Donald. We want him to win a fight. But I think he can't. He's 37 years old. Tony's just, his best days are behind him. I don't think he's winning this fight. I think that Benny can win this fight on the feet. I think that Benny can win this fight with his grappling. I think he's a better BJJ practitioner. And again, I know that Tony is a 10th Planet guy and all that stuff. But I mean, let's be honest. With the way that his knee was ripped apart and 37 years old, I don't think he's going to be able to outmaneuver Benny on the ground at 32 and in his prime. So Drew, that's a big breakdown, but I'm very content with putting my bet on Beneil Dariush, and I believe I've been tweeting it out for 2 days right now. So I'll leave it up to you. What do you think here, bro?
So the only thing I got to say about Tony and pretty much, I guess now Donald, since you brought him up, and why I also talked about Edson earlier is because if you see those 3 names, right? You see Edson Barboza, Donald Cerrone, Tony Ferguson, legends, yay or nay? Yay, right? They're pretty much legends in the UFC. Like, these guys of, even if you've never heard about fighting, if you hear Donald Cerrone, you're like, that sounds like it's important. You know what I'm saying? So that's the same narrative that I feel like, that's the same place that I feel like Tony Ferguson is right now. I don't even think he's a gatekeeper. Yeah, he's ranked, but I think he's only here right now trying to get a dub so he can walk off into the sunset with a win. Because honestly, is he really going to make a run for a belt again? I don't think so, man. I really don't. With the way that he's looked recently, with the way he's fighting, it's almost like with Edson Barboza. He's going to go out there and do. There is no trick. There is no. I mean, listen. I don't think Tony Ferguson has fallen off a cliff. Like, let's not get this wrong. The dude almost didn't lose in a decade. Like, he was 12-fight win streak. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is legit. But Tony Ferguson mentally, I feel like, is just not there anymore. And in this game, it's almost, in my opinion, 90% mental, 10% all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? All the weight cuts, whatever it is. But most of that stuff is all mental. And if you're not sharp up there, and I feel like Tony Ferguson, I mean, just look at him on Embedded. Where's El Cucuy? I mean, he's still confident, he's still whatever, but now he's more of a nice guy. He's a nice guy now. Now he's just here, grateful for the opportunity. Like, we see the switch up. Why? Because he was the bad guy last time, got bit in the ass. Bad guy the time before that, got bit in the ass against Justin and looked terrible. Looked almost scary when he got stopped. And I don't think that in this fight, I mean, if you look at who he's fighting in Beneil Dariush, he's probably a combination of his last two fights. Beneil can strike and has power, and he can grapple. So, I mean, Tony is just, if he comes out and throws all his elbows and catches Benny in one of those weird exchanges, that might work. But against a guy like Benny right now, who, like you mentioned, I don't think he's going to go on a run. I think he's on his run right now.
Yeah.
And
he's also seen those dark places that you're just mentioning right now, where Tony's in those dark places. Benny's seen it and he's overcome it, and he's now in his prime and making that run. That's what I see.
And honestly, right now, for a fighter like that, I always like to dig a little bit into their life, because me, especially as a competitor, I feel like, and even you as a competitor, I feel like things just always go better for me when everything outside of what I compete in is going well. Like my life, family, whatever it is. If everything's good, then I can just be my best in the ring or on the mat or whatever it is that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And for Benny right now, he's about to have a kid. How about that? You know what I'm saying? So you coming into a fight with that type of motivation against a guy who, like Tony Ferguson, who's ranked, who's a name. And don't get me wrong, Beneil Dariush, to the hardcore fans, I guess you could say, and now a little bit to more fans, because of the way that he's been winning lately, knocking people out in round 1, round 2, and like 4 or 5 of that fights in this streak currently. He's also a name that's pretty much, in there with the household names. He's 24 and 1. So it's not like he hasn't been fighting for a week. The dude's been in here for a while. But in this fight, I feel like Beneil Dariush, I think, puts the nail in Tony Ferguson's coffin, sends him away packing, and he continues to make a run. I mean, because now in the 155 division, it's the perfect time to do that. It's the best time.
So I guess Dan, he's had enough. We talked about Dariush too much.
Yo, Dan, listen, I was going for like 6 minutes. Talk to your boy over here.
Yeah, we're so excited about betting this fight. Listen, I could be eating crow come Saturday night, because if he gets upset, like, I'm gonna be stunned. This will be the most money that has changed hands, but on one fighter in my entire betting career. But that's where I'm putting my money. Let's throw some odds up there, Drew, and let's just tell everybody what you like, and then we'll get to this main event. We did spend a lot of time on that, though. What do you like? The line is definitely moving.
Absolutely, it's gonna move. If
Let me just
anything,
show the line.
I like a couple things. For sure, I don't think. I mean, this fight can go the distance, but I don't think it goes the distance.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would have loved to get Benny at plus 105. I got him at minus 152. And again, I don't think anybody really got him at plus 105. That line moved way too quick. So whoever had those max bets on March 15th, you definitely move that line right to where it is more or less right now. So we'll leave it at that. Big, yeah, I like Benny, straight bet. I like Benny inside the distance also. I know Tony doesn't get finished often, but I think the accumulation of shots, the last few times out, I think Dariush can get him inside the distance. So Dariush by KO TKO is plus 480. Dariush by submission is plus 610. Dariush wins inside the distance is plus 290. I mean, he could really win either way if he's able to hurt Tony. He can get him on the feet, drag him down, and finish him. And I think that would be a great way for Dariush to, finish this fight and really put himself out there.
Dariush
first time. MMA Drunkie, thanks for tuning in, bro. Any questions? But again, I appreciate it.
Yeah, shoot the questions.
House? You have a new house? Does he know I'm getting a new house?
I don't know, but that's pretty awesome. Thanks.
Yo, Dan, let me know how you know I'm getting a new house, bro. Serious, I don't even know what's going on here. What's up, Alex?
Yeah,
All right,
what's
man.
up?
So I appreciate everybody here. Those are our bets here. Drew, I'm gonna introduce the main event and then I'm gonna give it to you. I know we're on opposite sides of the main event, but my breakdown is pretty straightforward. I'm kind of I want to hear you talk about where you think this fight is gonna go and when it's gonna finish. I assume that you think it's gonna finish. So again, this is Charles Oliveira, Charles the Bronx, and Michael Iron Mike Chandler. Okay. Charles the Bronx, I feel like he's been in the UFC forever, and he's 30-8. Michael Chandler is 22-5. As Waldo says to us, the only reason Michael Chandler came to the UFC is because of Pitbull. He's 35 years old. What I say is the reason that Michael Chandler came to the UFC is to win this belt. So we're on opposite ends of that, but we're going to be together on Saturday night. Hopefully, Dariush wins. So then my money here on Michael Chandler, which is like peanuts compared to what I have in Dariush. Just whatever happens, happens. We're already enjoying a good night, some red wine, some good company with the friends, some good eats. Shout out. So where do we order food from again? Blackjack
Uh,
Mulligan. Shout out
yeah.
Blackjack. You know, but Drew, what do you think here? Where's this fight going?
I think this fight and the belt is going to Charles Oliveira, the Bronx. I mean, Michael Chandler here is a good wrestler, has power in his hands, as we saw in his debut fight in the UFC, knocking out Dan Hooker. But I mean, anyone can get caught on the button and put to sleep, bro. I don't think we really got to see the full-fledged Michael Chandler in the UFC and what he can do against UFC competition. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was pressuring Dan Hooker. He was bringing it to him during that fight and in the first round, looking okay. But Dan Hooker never really even got started. Dan Hooker didn't look like a ghost of himself in that fight, even to begin with. Even though it happened early in the fight, he just didn't look like Dan Hooker, like in his style at all. And Mike Chandler was just keeping him on his back foot. And he got caught. If you get caught on the button, I feel like anybody's going to go down. And that's exactly what happened to Dan. Now, that's not discrediting Mike Chandler because he is a good wrestler. He is good on the ground. But is he good enough to take Charles Oliveira down and ground and pound him the way he thinks he's going to do that to Charles Oliveira? I mean, if you watch Michael Chandler in his game, his style is ground and pound. He's notable for his ground and pound. He does have power in his hands, but it's not like he's up there, looking like Muhammad Ali striking. No, his game plan is to get you down to the ground, keep you down there, and make you miserable and beat you to a pulp. Is he going to do that to Charles Oliveira? I do not think so, dude. I really don't. I really do not. Charles Oliveira here gets a sub, if anything, or just makes it look easy on the ground, or possibly even catches Michael. Because just like I mentioned earlier with Cachoeira, how the striking is starting to meet the grappling, Charles has done that the best. Charles now, with his striking, has put it together now where the transitions are effortless. He makes jiu-jitsu MMA look exactly how it does on the mat, and that's very hard to do because MMA and jiu-jitsu a lot of times don't mash because, if I try to choke you, you can just punch me in the face, or if I do an armbar, it just doesn't mesh well a lot of the times. And Charles Oliveira, I feel like, has brought his game full circle, and this is his time, man. Against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler already, think about this, one fight in the UFC, already getting a shot at the belt. He got paid well. And I feel like Dana wants him to win, but I don't think he's going to win here. Michael is going to be in the UFC for a fun time, like you said, not a long time. And I think Charles Oliveira is going to ruin that for him here, and he'll probably get sat back down to the, number 5 or something like that, whatever it is. But Mike Chandler's not winning here, man. If you bring up the lines, I don't know what they are.
Yep.
But
Here we go.
Fight doesn't go the distance is where I'm probably going to go. Minus 365 as a nice parlay piece. And then if I just want to go straight up, then I'm probably on this fight. The way that you're going pretty hard on Benny is just as hard as I'm probably going to go with Charles. I'm not even kidding, because I honestly don't think that Mike Chandler gets it done here, man. Mike Chandler is the nice piece because he's plus money. So I feel like that's like, especially having a visual from what he did to Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is not Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is not Dan Hooker, where he's going to come out here and look to strike first. in that fight, Mike Chandler came out with confidence striking the way he did because he understood that he can take down Dan Hooker whenever he wanted. It's not the same thing here. You're not going to be able to take down Charles whenever you want. And if you take down Charles, have a good time, because it's not going to be a good time for anyone. So trying to ground and pound Charles Oliveira, unless he dings him up on the feet, which he is no world beater on his feet, I just honestly don't see a way that Mike Chandler wins here. I really don't. It can be exciting, the fight. It really can, but I don't think he wins. And I don't even think it gets to round 4 or 5. It's going to finish within the 3.
Okay, so again, let me just get your bets real quick. What are we talking about in terms of bets? The bet you just mentioned, Oliveira straight? Yeah,
so Oliveira, now listen, I never talk in these terms, but for all you guys who do, if you wanted to know exactly how I'm betting Oliveira, I'm betting 5U max. I hear a lot of you touts speak in terms like that. I don't do that, but for this one, I'm going to let you guys know, for everyone who speaks this way, I'm betting 5 units on Charles Oliveira.
Bro, I got like 37.5 units on Beneil Dariush.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't know you had
I'm not kidding.
I didn't know you had 37 units on it.
It's about 37.5.
Okay, so then I'll make it a 10U play just in the honor of your 37 units. I'll make it a 10U play, but I'm very confident, guys. Just so you know, on Charles Oliveira, that's where the big bet is going.
So I'm going to give the counter argument, but just give me any other bet. So you're going Oliveira minus 135. I thought there was another bet you liked.
Oh yeah, the fight doesn't go to decision, but that's going to be a parlay piece essentially. So that's not something that's straight up.
Okay, minus 365. That is a nice parlay piece. So inside the distance, minus 365. That is a really nice parlay piece. I definitely have to throw that in something because that's a great piece. Good call on that one. Yeah. So Drew, this is where my head's at. Let's go back in time to a fight that I remember. Again, I'm not that old, but I remember watching this fight, and it was Charles Oliveira and Paul Felder in 2017. And Paul Felder, who again we know how Paul Felder fights. He's a pressure fighter, who's a very good boxer, ground and pound, right? That's what you called Iron Mike Chandler. And he imposed his will on Charles the Bronx. Now, you could be absolutely right, and he's now matured, and Charles Oliveira can now deal with that. But Paul Felder broke him that night. Okay? So if Charles Oliveira is going to win this fight, he needs to, I need to see that he's not going to break again. Because after that fight, he fought Clay Guida. Not the same fight. Christos Giagos. Christos Giagos is the leadoff fight on this pay-per-view, right? He's the first fight of the night. That's not the fight. Jim Miller, everyone knew he was going to try to sub Jim Miller because Jim Miller got him, right? So that's not the fight. That's nowhere. That's not getting you ready for this. David Tamor, that's not the fight. Nick Lentz, tough guy, takes a lot of punishment, not the fight. Jared Gordon, friend of the podcast, love the guy. That's not getting him ready for this fight, right? That's not the fight. Kevin Lee, I'm a big fan of Kevin Lee, but Kevin Lee isn't a 155er. And if you go back and you watch how Charles the Bronx came out in round 3, I really thought that Kevin Lee was going to finish him in round 3. But Kevin Lee, like he always does, finds ways to lose fights. And again, Charles the Bronx looked exhausted coming out in round 3, and winds up Kevin Lee goes for the takedown. Charles gets the guillotine, and that's what you're saying. He's very good. He's a very good BJJ MMA grappler, right? Like he's a good grappler. He's good with his chokes, but he does it so effortlessly in his MMA fights. So it is impressive. And then Tony Ferguson, as I just said before, like that was a shell of Tony Ferguson. That was the Tony Ferguson who just got beat down 5 rounds by like his soul. Justin Gaethje literally took his soul. His soul was removed from Tony Ferguson's body in round 5. That's what I saw. And again, for anyone who doesn't believe me, watch round 5. Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson. Like Tony Ferguson is bouncing around on his tippy toes because he's taking so much punishment. Like his corner his corner really should have thrown in the towel and like saved this guy because he had no chance of winning that fight. And I know it was his title fight. You know, like he gets the title against Habib again, but he took way too much punishment, and I think it's just going to keep affecting him. So again, what kind of a run did he really have to this? I personally, you know, I don't get me wrong. Michael Chandler was a 3-time champ in Bellator, 2-time or 3-time champ in Bellator. I think that Dan Hooker was better than everybody that Charles Oliveira has beaten. That's just my opinion. And Michael Chandler, I also don't understand what Dan Hooker, his game plan was coming out in that fight against Michael Chandler. Like he wanted to try to strike from the outside, which makes sense because he has the longer arms, the longer reach, and then he got caught with that left hook, right? So again, let's go back to the beginning of my counter argument. I think that Michael Chandler is styles make fights. I think he's Paul Felder. I think he can pressure, he can get in his face, and I need to see Charles Oliveira deal with that. If he deals with it, then he wins the fight. If he doesn't deal with it, then I think Michael Chandler can get the best of him and break him. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Listen, you can say it's not going to happen. Paul Felder already did it.
Listen. I might have agreed with you if you would have told me this happened last year or even 2 years ago. This happened in 2017.
Has he showed you that someone's going to get in his face and he's not going to break? No, none of those fighters I mentioned have gotten in his face like that. Not one of them. Not one of them is Paul Felder, Michael Chandler. I'm just saying styles make fights. If you disagree with that, then that's fine. But styles do make fights.
You know what? Charles Oliveira, guys, this weekend.
It's going to be a great fight, and it's a great counter argument too.
You know what? Then, yeah. Listen. Since we've been on the hiatus 2 weeks, guys, listen up. Every week on the podcast, me and Steve have a bet where we go up against each other. And we never really announce it leading up to it. It just happens while we're breaking on the fights. So now, sir, we're gonna bet this fight because I'm gonna win. Charles Oliveira is going to win, and I'm going to take your money. Okay? So, where is it that we're going to bet it? Are we going to bet it money line, or are we going to bet it on prop?
No, let's just bet it straight up.
All right, fine. Straight up. That's how it is. So
and I don't even care about the odds.
It's fine. Me neither. You guys heard it here straight. I'm betting. We will disclose earnings later, but for right now, I'm betting Charles the Bronx. He's going to win. I can tell you why. I already told you why. If you want to, just check that timestamp tomorrow. Again, more picks coming out this week. Thanks to all the listeners. Thanks to all the guys in the chat. Everybody who's brand new. Remember, we are BetMGM affiliates, so hit that link. That's down in that section. Yep, there you go, BetMGM. We have the $600 deposit, and we also have the $1,000 deposit code, which I suggest you guys get on that because you guys can deposit up to $1,000 and they match it, and you can use it all over in the casino or wherever you want. You know, be a Degen in your own way. But this week, I can't wait. I'll see you on Saturday, bud.
Yes, sir.
What up? It's your boy DJ Naeem. I want to give a huge shout out. Going out to my Jersey boys, breaking down these UFC cards, baby. Let's go.
Got a little mama and she